What's up, amigos? It's the Prodigy Maker Minute with yours truly, Chris Lewitt. As you may know, I'm the former #1 for Cornell University, pro circuit player, elite junior development coach, and author and educator, author of The Secrets of Spanish Tennis and the Tennis Technique Bible. On this Prodigy Maker Minute, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite subjects, Spanish tennis. And one of the remarkable aspects of Spanish tennis is the drilling system. And the system was heavily influenced by William Pato Alvarez and Luis Bruguera. Those were the grandfathers, the godfathers, the big 800-pound gorillas of Spanish tennis back in the day. And they came up with a drilling system that I think is very remarkable for a number of reasons. I've spoken about some aspects of the drilling system in Spain. For one, it's based on repetition, and the repetition can go on ad infinitum or ad nauseum, that may be. And that's one of the interesting aspects of the original Spanish method of Pato Alvarez and Luis Bruguera, that it's a system of drilling, making players suffer through attrition, through long grinding sets. So the numbers of balls used can be 20, 30, 100, couple hundred, and that's a way to wear down a player to create uh, endurance, to build endurance, and also to build mental fortitude. So that is one unique aspect of the original Spanish system. And in addition, I think curiously enough, the system involves drilling very softly. So the ball is not hit hard by the coach. Typically in the Spanish method, the ball is tapped or hand tossed or fed with the racket, but fed at a leisurely pace, fed at a uh, uh, slower speed, just a slow rhythm. And I think there's something special to that because other systems have very fast feeding, very intense. Um, I think of like double time and triple time feeding that we teach the USPTA and PTR pros here in the US. And that's not how they do it in Spain traditionally they feed slowly, with a steady rhythm, and the ball is not fed with much velocity at all. So that lack of velocity, it always amazes me that how can a system like that work for players who at the high end of the game are going to be receiving balls at a very, very high velocity. So the feeding doesn't really match the demands of the game at the high level, yet the system works very well. And I think there's some sort of magic there that I quite haven't figured out why. I guess I have thought about why, but how does it work so well that a coach can feed softly at at a slow, steady rhythm, and yet still develop players to where they can compete at a very high level when the ball's coming fast? And I think one of the answers is that slow feeding, that soft tossing, the soft feeding, it allows the player more time to move their feet and get into better position. So over time, the player's actually learning how to move their feet and get in position better, as opposed to when you feed the ball or hit the ball really hard, the player has very little time to move their feet. And so they don't actually develop good footwork and movement when the ball is coming very fast. They just react it's such a stress to the nervous system. So in Spain, I think they figured that out, and I guess it started with Pato Alvarez, who started even before Luis Bruguera, back in the 70s, in Spain. And he fed the ball without a lot of force. And he also volleyed the ball using the technique of the wall, the exercise with the wall. He volleyed the ball. He didn't volley the ball hard. I've seen many coaches volley to their players hard to get them to react quicker and to get used to turning fast and preparing fast. And in Spain, they don't typically do too much of that, and not in that type of exercise. There is a few drills from Luis Bruguera that involve quick preparation and quick eyes, but in general, a lot of the feeding is done very slowly. The balls are hit very softly. And I think one of the other reasons it works, some of the magic is in the fact that the player has to accelerate. So the player learns to create their own energy. They don't feed off the energy of the feed of the incoming ball. So for those two reasons, I think there's some sort of magic to that style of Spanish feeding, the soft rhythmic slow feeding. The player has a lot of time to move their feet and a lot of time, and they are forced to accelerate. And in addition, the idea of going long, 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 instead of doing like 6 or 8 balls, really, really high intensity, you do 60 or 80 balls at a lower intensity. And there's something special about that too. There's some magic there. I think it builds endurance. It keeps the heart rate higher for a longer time. Not as high as high intensity bursting, but at a high rate for a longer period of time. It obviously forces the player to concentrate much longer, builds more muscular endurance to do those long sets with many repetitions. And those are some of the advantages of the Spanish system. The other thing is it doesn't risk injury as much. When you do lots of quick bursts at very, very high intensity, I think there's a higher risk of injury. Um, and when you do the Spanish way of training, if you subscribe to the long repetitions, the training is much safer. It's sort of like running for distance rather than running sprints. I think players tend to get, or athletes tend to get more muscular pulls and more musculoskeletal injuries when they're doing quick movements, sharp multidirectional movements, high explosive movements, sprints. Those kind of things cause more injuries than sort of LSD, long, slow distance. Um, so for all those reasons, I think there's some sort of genius in this simple method from Spain where you just toss the ball softly, you feed the ball slowly and softly. It doesn't look like it would work in today's with the conditions of today's modern game, but it does. It does work. And that's sort of the magic of the Spanish drilling method. And the other thing that's really interesting to me, that's I think very unique, is that because the feeding is simple and slow, and because the drills are simple, almost anyone can become proficient in the Spanish method. I mean, as a coach, you don't have to be a former Division 1 player, pro circuit player. I mean, those things help you become a better coach. They give you some unique insight and they're useful. But you could actually be just some dude off the street. And if you study it long enough, the Spanish method, you can learn how to toss the balls like Luis Bruguera and Pato Alvarez did. You can learn how to do the wall, even if you were not a player. You can learn how to sort of volley the ball back softly using the wall technique, wall drill, and that's why you see many trainers and trainadores in Spain who are not great players, but they're great trainers. Like they can put you through a great workout. The whole system works even with I'll say like less skilled labor. Like you can make the system work even with less skilled labor, which is it doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you have a country that's trying to develop more and more top players, and if you don't have to be as skilled to develop top players, you have a system that works with coaches who are less skilled overall. Like you don't need to have really, really high level skilled coaches to develop top players. Pretty much any Joe off the street can learn this method because it's so simple and the feeding is so easy to learn. That helps to raise the whole level of players across the whole country, because even your average coach from your average club can use this system. You don't have to have these like high level skills or background to like develop top players. I just think there's some sort of genius, some sort of magic there, and that's why I'm a huge fan of the Spanish way. Wanted to share those insights with you about the Spanish drilling method. And guys, if you like this kind of information, please check out my big show, The Prodigy Maker Show. It's available as a podcast, and it's a full YouTube show on this channel. Also, guys, please consider subscribing. We're trying to grow this channel. It's a very small channel that I do in my spare time, but we would like to grow this channel, and our goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers. So if you'd like to get updates and if you'd like to be part of the community, please consider joining our community here. Thank you, guys. I'll see you in the next program.